Hello, viewers. Welcome back to Unboundverse. In today's session, we are going to go into the dreamland. We're going to go into the dream world and try to see some interpretation today. All right, you know how we do it. Let's get into it. So, this dream I'm about to share with you was straight from the dreamland. Almost everybody dreams. I even heard some other creatures do dream also. So today's dream is this. Let's hear it. I'm going to tell you the actual dream, and I will also share with you what I think the interpretation is. And then from there, if you have some other kind of interpretation for this dream, you know where to find me. Comment section. Okay, put your comment in the section, in the comment section. Let me know what you think it is, but this is what I think it is. I'm gonna tell you the dream first. All right, so let's get started with this dream. All right, so it started that this is where I remember it to begin from. I was walking around my father's big parlor. First, my foot picked up a flat, tiny knife with no handle, about 2 inches long. I pulled it out painfully. It was almost all buried in my foot. It was all bloody when I pulled it out. It seemed my father made some quite significant of money in I'm not sure how. Then he drove out of his large compound in his long white L'Oreal car. I don't know if you're familiar with L'Oreal brands. I'm not sure where to and why. At another time, I was walking to my father's balcony next to the parlor, away from a parlor discussion we were having. I can't recollect faces of the teenagers that were present at the conversation. I just know we were in a conversation in there. So I was headed to the balcony to perhaps see what was it like outside when I picked up another 3-pronged tiny knife about 3 inches in length in the same foot. It was almost buried into the same foot again. It was painful and bloody when I pulled it out. I'm not sure why sharp tiny knives are in a parlor, a living room on the floor. So I proceeded to the balcony. After pulling out the knife, I got into the balcony on one side, and unexpectedly I saw my mom. She was also walking into the balcony through the other glass door leading to the balcony with perhaps a 2-year-old boy. I don't know the exact age, but I think it's 2 years. He's 2 years old. He can walk. So I immediately hid to the wall beside a structure with a mixed but happy feelings. It almost seemed she wasn't aware I was there. So it felt like we were both in a different timeline, but at the same time, I touched the boy's head and quickly hid again just to tease him. He felt the touch and saw me. He giggled, ran towards my mother and ran back towards me as I tagged him again while I watched my mom gaze at the road as she was sitting down in what seemed like a bikini when they were both alive. When they were both alive, I've never saw my mother in a bikini. As the little baby ran back towards my mom, then I awoke. So that's the actual dream, okay? And I'm going to go and we're gonna analyze this dream. We're going to go deep. We're going to take it one by one. Each part of the dream, we're going to take it one at a time, and we're going to analyze it, what it might mean, what it could mean, So, let's do this. All right, here we go. This dream appears to symbolize deep-seated emotional conflicts or deep-seated unresolved family dynamics and a journey of healing. Okay, a journey of healing. So let's start with the knives in the foot. We're going to start with the knives in the foot first. What does that mean? The knives in my foot could represent emotional pain or unresolved issues that are deeply buried. Pulling them out, though painful, may symbolize the process of healing with past wounds, especially those related to my family. The blood suggests that these issues are tied to hurtful experiences, likely from my past, maybe involving my father or his legacy. That's what that could symbolize. Another thing, my father and the wealth. So the mention of my father making significant money and living in his white Laurel car could point to feelings of distance or a lack of understanding about his life or about his decision or how he acquired success. So I may not know those. So white often symbolizes purity or new beginnings. So his departure may suggest he's moved on, perhaps symbolically or spiritually. Okay. Drive safe. Ẹ mú nǹkan bọ̀. Mo ń lọ sí duty o, ẹ ní bá mi tẹ́ bá ti dé o. Mo ń lọ sí duty. Lọ́sàn-án. Ṣé o ka text mi láti kíní ni?
Olú máa dé.
Máa dé lálẹ́.
Ní táìmù wo?
Bíi 10. What?
Wọ́n yóò kò sórun fún ẹ o. Gbàgbẹ́jà yọ àjọ science class ni.
Okay. Mo ti gbọ́.
Sọ ẹ o.
Èwo ni kí n ṣọ́ra? Èmi ò ní lọ duty mọ́ ni.
Àjọ ní carry over o.
Oh my God. All right, sorry about that, guys. I have to. Let me take this session again because I got interrupted by my wife. They are now heading out, and I'm here sharing this dream with the world. All right. So we left off from a part of the dream where it talked about my father and wealth. Okay. So the mention of my father making significant money and living in a white Laurel car could point to feelings of distance or a lack of understanding about his life, decisions, or how he acquired his success. White often symbolizes purity or new beginnings. So his departure may suggest he's moved on, perhaps symbolically or spiritually, but there is something about his actions or wealth that still leaves questions for me. And truly, I don't really know how my father acquired his wealth. He's really a very wealthy or a rich person, to the best of my knowledge. When I was growing up, I know he's a rich guy, but when I started getting to an awareness age where I know more stuff, I didn't see him as a wealthy guy anymore. But the house he has built It's like a living testimony that, okay, this guy was rich at some point, because that house was kind of like the I want to say the most wanted to see house in that area. If you go to that area now, it's probably no more, outstanding like before. But back in like 1980, 1978, I think 1975, I don't even know when the house was built. But back then, I think that house meant a lot, and it's one of its kind back then. It's a shining, what anybody would like to go take a look at back then. Not anymore now, So maybe that's what that meant, right? Now let's talk about another part of the dream that talked about the balcony and the teenagers. If you don't know what a balcony is like a porch, but on a story building. Okay, so most porch are just in front of the house, or maybe in the back, or you can say like it's a patio that is in front of the house that you could stand on it. It's gonna have a rail. You could stand on it and you could see everything in front of your house. So that's what a balcony is. Balcony, that word, I think that word is British. So if you're in America, you probably call it patio. Yeah, I don't know what other names it is called in America, but I'm pretty much sure balcony is European word, So now let's talk about the balcony and the teenagers. Okay, so the presence of teenagers and walking away from the conversation could reflect a desire to distance yourself or distance myself from youthful discussions or past conversations that don't feel relevant anymore. Moving towards the balcony indicates a need for perspective, stepping away to see things from a broader viewpoint. Because when you go to a balcony, you're going to see basically everything in front of the house. All right, let's talk about the mother and the child. Seeing my mother in a bikini, which I have never witnessed in life when she was alive, might symbolize vulnerability or unfamiliar aspect of my mom. The fact that she is with a small boy could represent a new, playful and innocent energy that is tied to her, or perhaps a new beginning. Whether related to my inner child or memories of her nurturing side. The timelines overlapping may show that the bond between me and my mother transcends time, reflecting both loss and continuity. So she never wore a bikini. I've never seen her in bikini in my life when she was alive. All right, happy mixed feelings. When I was on the balcony, I said I had a happy mixed feeling. The happy yet mixed emotion I felt when seeing my mother and the child suggests that I am grappling with feelings of joy, nostalgia, and perhaps unresolved longing to maybe see her again. So the boy's painful response hints at a chance for reconnection with lighter, more joyful aspect of family and childhood, even as I deal with the painful parts. The baby was joyful. I don't know, like it was happy to see me, but it looks like my mom didn't see me. So overall, the dream seems to highlight a path towards reconciliation with past hurts and finding peace, particularly around family and legacy. The knife, though painful, represents wounds that I am actively removing, signifying progress. Okay, because when you remove the source of the pain is gone. Continue from the themes in my dream. There is a strong sense of reconciliation with both pain and joy, especially regarding my relationship with my parents and perhaps my own identity. So we're gonna deeper dive into what this dream could mean. So the knives are a symbol of hidden pain. Okay, the act of removing the bloody knives from my foot, not once but twice, suggests that there are recurring issues or patterns that I have had to face over time. The foot, a symbol of movement and stability. Being wounded implies that these unresolved issues could have impacted my ability to move towards or forward freely in life. The small size of the knives, but their depth, could indicate that the pain, while not immediately visible to others, runs deep and affects me significantly. All right. My father's departure. What does that mean? My father's departure. What does it mean? So my father driving away in a white Laurel model car may symbolize his departure from my life, whether through death or emotional distance. The car, especially being white, could represent a form of transition. Perhaps my father has moved on to a place of peace, leaving behind questions about his role in my life or the way he impacted me. His wealth or success might be symbolic of something unresolved in terms of what he left behind, be it material or emotional. His departure could signify an ending or a shift in how I see him or my relationship with him. Now, the BIKINI and separation of timelines. What does that mean? The BIKINI acts as a literal and figurative point of perspective. Moving away from the parlor and the teenagers may suggest a desire to step back from the trivial, perhaps from memories or past interactions that no longer serve me. The overlapping timelines suggest that while my mother has passed, her presence is still felt, as though she in a different time or state of being, but still connected to my world somehow. It reflects the idea that although she no longer physically present, her energy or influence remains. Okay. Okay. All right. So my mother's new appearance. We have to talk about this. In that dream, I saw her in a bikini. So seeing my mother in a bikini, something completely out of character, could indicate a shift in how I am perceiving her. Perhaps I am seeing a side of her that I didn't understand or recognize before. Something more vulnerable or open. The bikini, often a symbol of exposure, may represent a new awareness of her personal struggles, her femininity, or her vulnerability that I hadn't considered while she was alive. And trust me, I never seen my mother in a bikini. Everything is all covered up. Not the head though. just from neck down, covered everything long. All right, the little boy and the innocence. What does that mean? The presence of the little boy suggests a renewal of life or an aspect of innocence that remains despite the pain. It could symbolize my inner child or the possibility of healing and joy represented by the child's playfulness and my interaction with him. By touching the child, I am connecting with that part of myself or my past, perhaps indicating that through this pain engagement, or through this playful engagement, I am discovering something important about myself or my mother's nurturing nature. So that's what that baby meant. All right, mixed emotions. Why did I have mixed emotion in that dream? The mix of happiness and confusion I feel upon seeing my mother and the boy might reflect my ambivalence about the past. There is both warmth and unresolved emotion tied to this family connection. The fact that my mother doesn't notice me immediately and I'm somewhat hiding could suggest that while I am close to understanding or reconciling these feelings, there is still a sense of distance or fear in fully confronting them. So ultimately, this dream seems to guide me towards a deeper acceptance of the complexity of family, pain, and love. By pulling out the painful knives and witnessing both my father's departure and my mother's nurturing, playful side, the dream appears to be urging me to heal from the past and embrace both the painful and joyful aspects of my journey. The overlapping timeline might suggest that healing happiness in layers across time, and that by engaging with these symbols, both painful, the knives, and tender, the child, I am actively moving towards a more peaceful resolution. Let's look at another layer to explore in my dream. Another layer to explore in my dream is the symbolic meaning of the overlapping timelines. Okay, let's go deeper into that. My role as the observer in that overlapping timeline. What does the overlapping timeline mean? How come she didn't see me but I can see her? She didn't even sense that I'm there. So the sense of different timelines coexisting could suggest a larger theme of reconciliation between the past, present, and the future. Okay. In dreams, such overlaps often represent unresolved issues that transcend time. They continue to influence my current reality despite being rooted in the past. My interaction with both my mother and the child, while feeling a mixture of emotions, could indicate that while I am progressing in life, there is still unfinished emotional business. These different timelines may point to the idea that time alone doesn't heal all wounds, and the actively confronting and processing past pain symbolized by the knives is necessary for full healing. Okay. All right. Another thing we want to deeply look at is the role as the observer. The role as the observer. Throughout the dream, I often watch or interact indirectly. Whether it's hiding on the balcony or pulling out the knives alone, the role as an observer rather than the direct participant in the discussion or interactions might suggest that I am still processing the emotional distance between myself and my family. Okay? Because nobody shouted when those knives, got in my foot. Watching my father drive away and observing my mother and the child from a distance implies that at times I feel like an outsider to the familial dynamics, possibly reflecting a sense of detachment or a need for clarity in understanding my place in my family's story. Because that's true. Because it seems like no one paid attention to me in that dream. I'm just there experiencing those things myself. All right, my foot as a metaphor is another thing we need to look at. Feet are symbols of grounding, stability, and the ability to move forward. The recurring pain in my foot caused by the buried knives suggests that something in my past may have hindered my ability to feel grounded or secure in my life's path. The fact that these knives are in my foot and not my hands or other parts of my body points to an area of my life where my progress or sense of stability has been hurt by lingering emotional wounds. Removing the knives, while painful, is a necessary step for me to move forward, both emotionally and in life. So that's the symbolism of that knife in my foot. The child as a bridge. Let's take a look at that. Why is the child there? Why could the child see me but not my mom? Why was I able to see the child and my mom, but my mom couldn't sense that I'm there in that same balcony? All right, the child as a bridge. The little boy in the dream could also symbolize a connection between my past and future, or even a new version of myself that is emerging as I process these feelings. His playful nature and giggles contrast the pain of pulling out the knives, suggesting that while the past holds its burdens, there is also joy and potential for renewal. The boy may also represent a legacy or continuation of family that transcends the past pain, offering hope for a future that is more light-hearted and free. Now, mother's unusual appearance. We have to talk about this deeply again. So, my mother's appearance in a bikini is something unfamiliar to me in waking life when she was alive. This could symbolize her freedom from the constraints she might have experienced during her life. This new image could reflect my own evolving understanding of her, because seeing her not just as my mother but as a full person with her own experiences, vulnerabilities, and potential freedoms. It may also signify a release from traditional roles or expectations, both for her and perhaps for me, as I reconcile the past. In essence, this dream is rich with symbols pointing to the deep emotional work of confronting pain, rethinking family relationships, and embracing both the unresolved and joyful parts of my past. It suggests I am on a path towards integrating these experiences, healing old wounds, and finding peace within my family story. Seeing deceased parents in my dream often holds deep emotional and psychological significance, especially when combined with the themes that we have talked about above. All right, now let's talk about seeing my father, okay, because we haven't really talked about that. Let's go deep. So, seeing my father's presence in the dream, particularly with his departure in the white Laurel car, could symbolize closure or unfinished business related to him. In many cultural and psychological interpretations, seeing a deceased parent can represent my desire for guidance, my desire for resolution, or my desire for acceptance of a part of my life they were connected to. His departure in the dream may symbolize that I have reached or I am approaching a stage of letting go, whether it's forgiving him or understanding him better or accepting his passing. Okay, all those they're related. All right, seeing my mother. Okay, let's go deeper. So my mother's appearance, especially with the little boy, could signify nurturing, care, and unconditional love. If my mother was a source of emotional support, her presence might represent the part of me that seeks comfort and reassurance. Her unexpected appearance in a bikini, an image unfamiliar to me, may also indicate that I am beginning to see my mother in a new light, perhaps understanding aspects of her personality or her life that I didn't fully grasp when she was alive. The boy with her may symbolize new growth or new innocence or the next generation, because I don't know if they give birth in dreamland. Communication beyond death. What does that mean? In many dream interpretations, seeing deceased loved ones can indicate unresolved emotions or a need for closure. It may also represent your subconscious desire to communicate with them or to seek wisdom, advice, or even forgiveness. The overlapping timelines suggest that while they are no longer physically present, their influence continues to shape my life. They could be showing up to remind me that while their time in this world has ended, the lesson, the love, and even the unresolved conflicts remain part of my ongoing journey. Which it makes sense. Their blood is still in my blood. All right, spiritual connection. Let's talk about that. For some, dreaming of deceased parents may be seen as a form of spiritual connection. If you see your parent in your dream a lot, it's a spiritual connection. It could be interpreted as them offering me comfort, protection, or a message. The fact that I felt mixed but happy feelings when seeing my mother and the child might reflect a sense of peace or acceptance that my mother in some way is still with me. Perhaps not physically, but emotionally or spiritually. The child could represent a legacy of love, continuity, or even a part of me that she is still nurturing. Now, the inner dialogue. So often, dreams involving deceased parents are reflections of an inner dialogue I am having with myself. The dream might be processing unresolved emotions tied to my relationship with those emotions, whether it's unfinished conversations, lingering doubts, or questions I didn't get to ask when they were alive. These dreams give me a safe space to explore those thoughts and feelings, which could be why they appear during significant moments of transition or emotional growth. So that's the inner dialogue there. That's what that symbolizes. Personal reflection. Okay, what does that mean with this dream? What's the relationship? The appearance of both parents may signify a need to balance aspects of myself that I associate with them. My father's departure and my mother's nurturing presence suggests that I am walking through both the loss and the love I have inherited. It might also be a reflection of the different influences they had on my life. Perhaps my father symbolizing lessons of independence, stability, or structure, and my mother representing love, care, and emotional understanding. In conclusion, my viewers, this is a very long one, but I'm not really done. In conclusion, the presence of my deceased parent in my dream could be pointing towards a desire for closure, healing, or deeper understanding of their roles in my life and the unresolved emotional ties I may still carry with me. Their appearances can symbolize both the pain of the past through the knives and my father's departure, and the potential for joy, renewal, and healing. We can see that through the child and my mother's playful side. This dream offers an opportunity to continue processing these complex emotions and integrate them into my life journey. Now, I had a question, right? In this dream, why couldn't I communicate with my mom in the dream? Why not? I'm happy to see her. She didn't sense that I was there. Why couldn't I communicate? The inability to communicate with my mother in the dream could symbolize several emotional and psychological dynamics. I was able to kind of communicate with the kid. I touched the kid saw me, but I couldn't do that to my mom. So, unresolved feeling or distance, the first thing that came to mind. I may still be processing unresolved emotions or feelings of separation from my mother, whether due to her passing away or the relationship I had with her. And I really loved my mom when she was alive. The dream could reflect that there are things left unsaid or unaddressed between me and creating a barrier to direct communication. This is common in dreams where one feels unable to connect with a deceased loved one. It can represent unfinished emotional business or lingering grief. This is so true because there are things my mom was unable to tell me before she passed away. Emotional or psychological distance could also be interpreted. In dreams, silence or an inability to communicate can symbolize emotional distance. Even though I were close in physical proximity to my mother in the dream, it might represent how I feel emotionally distanced from her, either due to her passing away or because of some unresolved issues in my relationship. This could also reflect a part of myself that isn't yet ready to confront certain feelings or memories tied to her. Again, I love my mom. Spiritual or subconscious separation. That's what being unable to speak to her might also interpret to. The overlapping timelines in my dream suggest that I and my mother may be existing in different realms or phases, her in the afterlife and me in the present. This temporary or spiritual difference may be symbolized by the lack of direct communication. It might reflect the difficulty in bridging the gap between life and death, or between past memories and current emotions. I could be sensing that while her presence is still felt, the direct connection I once had is no longer possible in that same way. That makes a lot of sense. Now, another thing that could mean is a reflection of acceptance. Sometimes dreams present us with silence or non-communication to symbolize the process of accepting that a loved one is no longer physically present. In this case, the inability to speak with my mother might represent the finality of her passing and a growing understanding that while she may remain with me in spirit, the kind of communication I once had is no longer possible. This can be a step toward coming to terms with loss. It's hard to take the loss of a loved one. All right, subconscious protection is another meaning why I was unable to speak with my mom in my dream. My mind might be protecting me from confronting difficult emotions all at once. The dream may be creating a scenario where I can see my mother and feel her presence, but not interact directly because I might not be fully ready to process certain emotions or memories tied to her. This can be part of a gradual process of healing. And truly, I don't think I'm fully healed from the loss of my parents. All right, symbol of reflection, not engagement. In some dreams, deceased loved ones serve as symbols rather than active participants. My mother's appearance in the dream may represent certain quality or lessons she imparted, and her silence could be a way of encouraging me to reflect on her role in my life rather than engage in direct dialogue. It may be an invitation to understand her influence in me more deeply, but without needing explicit communication. Okay. Overall, the lack of direct communication with my mother in the dream could indicate emotional distance. It could indicate unresolved feeling or a gradual process of accepting her passing, maybe I have not fully accepted. It reflects the complex nature of my relationship with her, offering space to reflect on what might still need closure or understanding, while also symbolizing the continuation of her influence in my life, even without direct dialogue. Okay? Because they say even silence is a communication. So, why was my father remembered to be driving away from the big house compound after making a significant money? So, after making a lot of money, he just drove off. What does that mean? My father driving away from the big house after making significant money likely represents several symbolic meaning tied to my perception of him and my relationship with him. That's yeah. So departure as symbol of finality or closure. Okay. My father driving away could signify the finality of his departure from my life, whether through death or emotional distance. It might symbolize a sense of closure, as if he is moving on from this world or from the role he played in my life. His living in a car may represent a transition or a journey that I am not part of, reflecting how in death our loved ones go on to a different existence that we cannot fully follow or comprehend, because no one can really chase a car unless you are Sonic or Flash. Money as symbol of legacy or unresolved questions. The mention of my father making significant money could reflect questions or thoughts I have about his legacy, what he left behind, whether materially or emotionally, or how he achieved success in life. It might also hint at unresolved feelings regarding his role as a provider or patriarch, and perhaps any pressure or expectations he carried with him. If I am not sure how he made his money, it may suggest some mystery or ambiguity about his success or the way he approached life's challenges. It could also symbolize a sense of unfinished business. There may be aspects of his life or choices that I don't fully understand or reconcile before his passing. This is so true. I'm not, too conversant with a lot of things in my dad's life and his choices. The house as a symbol of stability or responsibility. The big house and compound in my dream could represent the foundation or stability my father provided during his life. He really built a really big house. That big house is still there now. His driving away from it might symbolize the end of that stability or the shift in responsibility that has occurred since he is no longer there to oversee or protect the big house. The house might also represent family, heritage, or tradition, as in things he once managed or controlled, but which I may now feel it's left to me now. Driving away as emotional distance. The act of driving away could also reflect emotional distance that existed between me and my father, or a feeling that he was somewhat removed or disconnected, especially regarding personal matters like emotions or affection. Even if he provided materially, there may have been an emotional gap between me and my father. His departure in the dream could be a manifestation of how I experienced that distance, or how his absence is felt now. Because that's true. He really left fast. Like, he died really fast. I couldn't comprehend it quickly. Money and power dynamics. The significance of the money could also point to themes of power, control, or the dynamics of success in my relationship with my dad. Perhaps there were power dynamics in the family that resolved around money or success, and his living with that wealth might represent those dynamics fading away with his passing. It could be a reflection of how I am processing my relationship to material wealth and legacy in the context of my family. Now, the symbol of independence or transition. On a deeper level, the act of my father driving away after making money could represent his transition or the completion of his role in my life. It might symbolize that he has fulfilled his part, whether as a provider or figure of authority. And now it's up to me to move forward on my own. The white car could also indicate that he is leaving behind something pure, or that his departure is meant to bring peace or new beginnings for me. Okay. Unresolved curiosity or admiration. Admiration. I might also still be trying to understand certain aspects of my father's life, especially regarding how he handled financial success, how he handled challenges, or how he handled financial responsibilities. The dream may reflect a lingering sense of curiosity or even admiration for the way he navigated life's material demands. If I am certain about how he made the money, it could represent a broader uncertainty or lack of complete understanding about his decisions, his values, or actions in life. In summary, my father driving away from the house after making significant money symbolizes both his departure from my life and lingering questions about his legacy. It may represent the end of his role as a provider, the end of his role as emotional distance, or unresolved feelings that are related to how he managed success and family responsibilities. The dream seems to be prompting reflection on how his influence, material or emotional, continues to affect me. Now, another question I have for this dream is, what about picking up two tiny knives in my left foot and pulling them out and walking to the balcony? What does that mean? Why do I have to pull that out before I walk to the balcony? The recurring theme of picking up tiny knives in my left foot and pulling them out bloody is deeply symbolic and likely carries significant personal and emotional meaning. Let's break it down, viewers. Let's break it down. The left foot, right? is a symbolism of the left side. In many traditions, the left side of the body is associated with intuition, emotions, and the unconscious mind. It's often linked to the past or matters related to the heart and emotional world. The fact that the knives keep embedding themselves in my left foot suggests that this recurring pain may be connected to unresolved emotional wounds, something from my past or deeper feelings I am still processing. Feet and grounding. Feet goes to the ground, feet touch the ground. So feet in general are symbolic of movement, grounding, and stability. My feet allow me to walk, right? Symbolizing progress in life. When the left foot is injured, it may indicate that my emotional or intuitive foundation is being affected. And this is hindering my ability to move forward in a grounded way. So I may be carrying emotional pain that represents my that prevents me from feeling secure or progressing smoothly in my life's journey. That could be what that means. Tiny knives, small but deep. They usually say small but mighty. Some people. All right, deep ones. The tiny knives, though small, are almost fully embedded in my foot, and pulling them out is painful, right? So this suggests that these wounds, while perhaps not enormous or obvious on the surface, are deeply rooted and cause significant pain. These knives may represent emotional traumas, unresolved issues, or painful memories from the past that keep resurfacing. Okay, because let's take a look at it. It was a repeated injury, the first one and the second one. The fact that I encountered these knives twice on the same foot implies that this pain or emotional injury is something recurring. I may feel that no matter how much I address these issues, they continue to reappear, causing me to re-experience the pain. It could be related to a particular emotional issue or relationship, possibly with my parents or other significant figures that I haven't fully processed or healed from. All right, let's talk about the blood and the pain on these little knives. Blood as a symbol of life and emotion. Blood in dreams is often symbolic of life force, emotional energy, and vitality. The fact that the knives cause my foot to bleed suggests that these deep emotional wounds are draining me, affecting my energy, well-being, or vitality. I may be feeling emotionally exhausted by the effort it takes to continually address these recurring pains. Painful healing process is related to this. Pulling out the knives is painful and bloody, which suggests that while I am trying to address these issues, the healing process itself is difficult. This could reflect my struggle to confront certain emotions or past experiences that are painful to face but necessary for my growth and healing. That's what that means. Now, Walking towards the balcony, like from the parlor to the balcony, what does that symbolize? Balcony as a place of perspective, right? A balcony in dreams is often associated with gaining a broader view or new perspective on life. Walking towards the balcony, despite the knives in my foot or the pain in the foot, this suggests that I am seeking to gain clarity or distance from the pain, emotional issues I am dealing with. I am looking for a higher perspective, perhaps to understand my situation better or to gain insights into how to move forward. Right? No pain, no gain, right? Balancing pain and progress. Even though the journey is painful, I continue walking towards the balcony. This could represent my determination to gain understanding and perspective despite the emotional burdens I carry. It's a sign that while these recurring pains are difficult, I am actively seeking healing and a clear view of my life's path. I love that. Humans are unstoppable. I am unstoppable. Why tiny knives in a parlor? Who places tiny knives in their parlor? Unexpected pain in a comfortable settings. The parlor is typically a place of comfort conversation, right? The living room is a comfort place and a relaxation place. Finding knives in such a setting may symbolize that these emotional pains or traumas are coming from areas of life or relationships where I expect to feel safe or at ease. This could relate to family dynamics, given that this occurs in my father's house, or childhood experiences that should have been comforting but instead left emotional scars. The significance of repetition. Why did it happen twice? Okay. Patterns of pain. The repetition of pulling out the knives twice suggests that this is a cyclical issue, something that has happened repeatedly in my life. It might be pointing to an emotional pattern or a recurring issue that has not yet been fully resolved. It may also signify that although I have addressed these issues in the past, they continue to impact me, and the process of healing is ongoing. Emotional and psychological implications of the knife and the blood and the feet. The tiny knives, recurring injury, and pain I experience allude to unresolved emotional or psychological wounds that have affected my ability to feel grounded and secure. The dream seems to be highlighting these recurring patterns of pain. Perhaps it is urging me to confront them more fully or find new ways to heal from it. Since the knives keep embedding themselves in the same foot, it suggests that the root cause of this emotional pain is related to a specific issue or relationship that I am struggling to resolve. It may be tied to family dynamics, past relationships, or deep-seated insecurities or fears that I haven't fully processed. Final thoughts. If you're still watching this video, that means you really want to know what the end of this is, and I appreciate you. Thank you for sticking with this video thus far. Final thoughts. Okay, the act of pulling out the bloody knives from my foot twice and walking towards the balcony symbolizes my emotional struggle to heal from deep-rooted issues. While the pain is real and recurring, the fact that I am removing the knives and continuing to walk signifies that I am on a journey of healing and self-awareness. Even though it is difficult, the dream seemed to be encouraging me to persist in seeking clarity, seeking perspective, and healing despite the emotional wounds that continue to surface. Now, another question that I had is, it's been 2003, both mom and dad passed. Why am I seeing them in my dream in 2024 and with a little baby boy of 2 years old, perhaps in the same house we all lived in back then? Let's look at what that could mean. Dreams involving deceased loved ones, even years after their passing, can carry profound emotional, psychological, and sometimes spiritual significance. Seeing both of my parents in a dream in 2024 alongside a 2-year-old baby boy likely points to several deeper meanings. Let's dive into these deeper meanings. One is the unresolved emotions and healing. Okay? Unresolved emotions and healing. Even though my parent passed in 2003, I might still have unresolved emotions tied to their loss or the relationship I had with them. Grief is a process that can take a long time, and some aspect of it may remain with me throughout my life. This dream may indicate that there are still parts of my relationship with my parents that I am subconsciously walking through. The house the house we all lived in could represent our past and the memories associated with it. Returning to the setting in my dream might suggest that there are unresolved or unprocessed emotion that is tied to my upbringing or to the life I shared with my parents in that home. So these emotions may resurface during certain periods of reflection, change, or emotional transitions in my life. Another thing to look at, right? The baby boy as symbol of new beginning. New beginning. Do they give birth in dream world? Does it mean that my mom gave birth to a new baby? The presence of a 2-year-old baby boy, especially in the house I once shared with my parents, is significant. Babies in dreams often represent new beginnings, new innocence, or new aspects of myself that are in a state of growth or rebirth. This boy might symbolize a new phase in my life, a fresh perspective, or emotional growth that has been unfolding since my parents' passing. The child could also represent a new part of my emotional world that is imagined. Perhaps a younger version of myself or a part of my life that I am now nurturing, which wasn't given attention to before. It might signify personal healing or a new chapter in my life where I am reconnecting with my roots, yet trying to find new ways of understanding my emotional self. Another thing to get from that is revisiting the past for insight. Seeing my parents in the same house that we all lived in suggests that my subconscious mind is revisiting that time in my life for insights, for reflection, or for healing. The house represents my emotional foundation, and dreaming of it might indicate that I am still processing experiences from that period, particularly related to my parents' influence in my life and development. The appearance of my parents after such a long time can be an invitation from my subconscious to look back at how they shaped me, whether for the lessons they taught me, or the unresolved issues they left behind, or the love and support they provided, even though they passed many years ago. My memories and experiences with them still form part of my emotional world, and this dream might be helping me to navigate those feelings. Family legacy and continuity. That might be another reason why I'm seeing them in 2024 in my dream, in the same house we all lived in. The dream could reflect thoughts about family continuity, legacy, and my role in the ongoing story of my family. The presence of the baby boy with my mother may symbolize the idea of new life or the continuation of family even after loss. It could be a metaphor for the ways in which my parents' influence or legacy lives on, perhaps through me or future generations. This baby could also symbolize an aspect of my own potential or legacy that is still developing. It might represent my own growth, my own projects, or ideas that still in the infancy but are deeply tied to my past and my parents' impact on me. Spiritual connection or guidance. That could be another interpretation for why I'm seeing them in 2024 in my dream. For some, dreams of deceased parents, even years after their passing, are seen as a form of spiritual communication. My parents might appear in my dreams as a source of comfort, guidance, or support during a significant time in my life. The baby in the dream might be a symbol of hope, protection, or renewal, perhaps reminding me that I am not alone on my journey. This dream could reflect a need to reconnect with the emotional or spiritual lessons my parents taught me. They may be appearing as reminders of my roots, my resilience, or the values they instilled in me. Particularly, as I face new challenges or transitions in life. Timelessness of memory and influence. Timelessness of memory and influence. The overlapping timelines and the sense that my mother didn't notice me even though I was present could indicate how memory and time blend in dreams. This may symbolize the fact that while my parents are physically gone, the influence or their influence continues to shape my emotional world. In this way, they are still very much alive in my subconscious mind, impacting my decisions, my feelings, and my growth. The fact that they are present with the baby in the dream might suggest that the part of them that lives on within me is connected to new growth, new change, or something I am nurturing on my own or in my own life. It can also reflect how the past is intertwined with my present and my future. Another reason could be because seeking closure or peace. The recurring appearance of my parents, even after such a long time, might suggest that there are still areas where I am seeking closure or peace regarding their passing or their role in my life. The baby boy could symbolize a peaceful resolution to those lingering emotions, perhaps showing that I am in a phase where I am more ready to heal, to accept, or to make peace with the past. It may also be that I am looking for ways to integrate their legacy or their influence into my current life. This could be emotional, spiritual, or even practical in nature. Perhaps reflecting lessons they taught me or values they instilled in me that are becoming more relevant to my life now. Because my mom, she prayed for me a lot. She taught me a few things. In conclusion, seeing my parents in a dream, even 21 years after their passing, indicates that their influence on my life remains strong. The dream is likely addressing unresolved emotions, a need for reflection, or a new phase of personal growth. The presence of the baby boy suggests new beginnings or personal development that is tied to my past, and the dream is encouraging me to reflect on my parents' ongoing impact on my life, on my emotional healing, and on my current journey forward. It may also be offering comfort, reminding me that even though they have passed, their legacy, their love, and their lessons continue to guide me. That is all I have on this dream to you all from the dream world. And if you're still watching now, thank you. That shows that you take things of the dream world seriously. And everybody should, especially when you wake up and you remember your dreams. So thank you all for watching. If you have any question whatsoever, if you want to know how I got this interpretation and how I have always interpret my own dream, you can reach out in the comment section I will tell you the things I know and some things that I use to get my interpretation, and you know, before I agree with the interpretation. All right. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for staying tuned on the Unbound Verse till the end of the video. This video is over 1 hour 10 minutes, 1 hour 15 minutes long, and that's such a great time that you have put into making sure you get to the end of this dream. The dream itself is like what? The dream itself is like, I don't think the dream itself was 5 minutes or 10 minutes. The dream itself was so short, but the interpretation of the symbolism in that in my dream it's expanding, in various ways. It expanded in various ways. It expanded through a lot of topics and through a lot of considerations. So everybody can dream, and almost everybody can interpret their dream. And maybe few people remember their dream when they wake up. And maybe you are one of those that when you wake up from your dream, you like to write them down, or you like to quickly try to say it into a voice recorder, so you can later on, when you're consciously awake, fully consciously awake, you can really listen to that dream and see what's going on. Because I'm beginning to fully see that there's truly some type of connection between our subconscious mind and our past and the future. Okay, so when we dream, what does it really mean? We really need to put a work in and figure out what the dreams really mean. All right, that's all for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for staying tuned with Unbound Verse, and I will see you in another video. I am your boy Hakeem Ajibose, coming live to you from the Dream World Information on Unbound Verse. Bye for now. See you in another video.